Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Nightly Nuge. We're going to call it the New York edition of the Nightly Nuge, Ted, because all kinds of crazy things are going on up in New York. By the way, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing so good, and I have family in New York, and I'm tuned into New York. So let's identify that what goes on in New York is the manifestation of the cultural deprivation widespread across this country. So let's get it on, Nightly Nugers.
Well, let's talk about Letitia James, the New York.
We have to.
Well, she campaigned, and her campaign promises were, I'm going to take down the Trump family. And here she is, spending taxpayer resources, doing everything she can to take down every member of the Trump family, the Trump Foundation, et cetera. What's your take on all that?
I pay attention, hence the Nightly Nuge. And I've been watching this attorney general in New York. Every word out of her mouth, her actual demeanor, the words she uses, she campaigned to destroy, word for word, it's all on film, the National Rifle Association. What is the National Rifle Association? It's great American families, law-abiding American families, and it's ultimately a grassroots family civil rights organization, because if you don't have the God-given individual right, which we guaranteed in the Constitution, the Second Amendment, to defend yourself, to keep and bear arms instead of just the king having arms, if you don't believe in that, and if you lose that right of self-defense and keep and bear arms, you don't have civil rights. You don't have any rights at all. You are a pawn to tyrants. So when she started railing against the NRA, the great families of the NRA, we knew that she was corrupt. We knew that she was anti-American. She was violating her oath, her sacred oath to the Constitution, by going after an organization that protects the Constitution. So when she went after Trump with her insanity, and again, she's just a mean, rotten, glaringly power-abusing, corrupt bureaucrat, every word out of her mouth, every decree she makes, all you have to do is pay attention to the Attorney General of New York and witness why New Yorkers are leaving in droves, because it's no longer life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness and the freedoms guaranteed us individually from God in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. She's a nasty, anti-American, I believe, treasonous bureaucrat.
Well, staying in New York, Ted, there's a city councilwoman, Kristen Richardson Jordan, who made a comment that said the New York Police Department is the biggest gang in New York. And then on the heels, and I'm sure you saw it, and our hearts go out to the families, there was the ambush of those two brave law enforcement officers in New York. And on the heels of that, instead of tweeting something positive about the sacrifice or a condolence to the family, she said, well, it's really important that we keep these community gardens going in New York. What's your thoughts?
Number one, everybody I know, and I know a lot of people, I'm a gregarious guy, and I know good families. We do a lot of charity work together. If you want to meet great, caring, heart and soul Americans, it'll probably be at a charity for military families and children, conservation, law enforcement heroes who've been killed or injured in the line of duty. So I hang with the best people that ever lived. And when we see stuff like this, the new mayor, who was a hero of law enforcement, decreed that he doesn't think you have to be an American citizen to vote in America. And then this gal also said, I gotta read this. I took a copy of it to send it to my family. In fact, I'm not going to read it word for word. She said that the entire prison system of New York, everybody in the prison system of New York should be let out as soon as possible. So there's, on one hand, they're decreeing that everybody should be let out of jail. And on the other, they're going, how do we reduce crime? You've got to be kidding. My house is on fire. Bring some gasoline. Throw the gasoline in the fire. That'll help. So, Keith, I would like to keep this calm and rational, which, by the way, my words indeed are rational, but there's hysteria involved because this is insanity. We always celebrate this glorious, unique, one-of-a-kind experiment in self-government. Not just my wonderful son, Fleetwood, and his family in Staten Island, but all my friends in New York. I have so many rock and roll friends and hunting friends and NRA friends and Gun Owners of America friends and charity giving families in New York. You've got to call your mayor's office and rail against this insanity, this indecency, this abuse of power, siding with violent criminals and punishing by their very acts law-abiding families. I could go on and on commenting on it, but do I really need to comment on when you give a rabid dog to your kids to play with? Whoever gave them the dog should be put in a cage and never let out, preferably with the dog.
Well, there you have it. You're up to speed again this evening. And if you come back tomorrow night, we'll have some more of the Nightly Nooge. Ted, great insight.
Thank you, Keith. I will forever bring my beloved birth city, Detroit muscle to the Truth, Logic, and Common Sense campfire.